again, Robert. Ready for
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
it? You look like that first session just wore you out. Did he wear
Lord.
you out?
Sometimes he wears me out.
I know. I raised him. I remember he used to wear me out.
Oh, Lord. He is like, gosh. I mean, he was that way when he was a kid, where he was like just
Oh, yeah.
everywhere.
Everywhere.
Good gracious.
You know, until he started suffering from depression. But yeah, he was everywhere. And even then,
Yeah.
he would sometimes just get into everything.
Well, because
But,
he'll be like talking about something, and then he'll just switch gears all of a sudden. But he's still talking about the same thing. He's just like all of a sudden switched the way he's saying it, and I'm like, wait a minute.
oh my God, what a challenge for a medium.
It's kind of dark in here. Yeah, but anyway, he's funny.
No, your face is showing up great. All right,
Okay.
now, a lot of people ask about this, and we've covered this in the blog a long time ago, but I just want to list some mythical creatures. And
Oh.
Eric, you can say if they ever existed or do exist or whatever or not, and then the ones that have or still exist.
I'm sorry,
we'll go back.
He's making me laugh.
What's he doing
He,
now?
he said, so we're going to talk about fantastic beasts and where to find them.
There we go. So let's just start saying yes or no.
Yeah.
Have dragons
No.
ever existed? Okay. Elves,
Yes.
fairies,
Yes.
unicorns,
Yes. Really?
sprites,
Yes.
nymphs, nymphomaniacs.
No.
No, trolls, like in Norway, ones that sit under the bridge.
He said yes.
Oh wow. Gnomes? I don't know if there's any difference between a troll and a gnome.
Yeah, he said not really, because the troll.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cyclops?
No.
Giants.
Yeah.
I knew that was going to be a yes. All right, so let's talk about these. Well, let's talk about giants first. Tell us about that. Did they really exist, and how dang big were they?
He said, well, let's talk about the giants. He said they existed, but the thing is that they don't exist in the way that human beings thought they existed. Like these 20 feet tall human-looking things.
Okay.
That's not what they were. He said they were human beings that existed a long time ago, that they were just so much taller than regular humans, 7, 8, 9 feet tall. And they all died off. Most of them did. But people thought of them as giants.
Well, did they have a pituitary disorder or something? Or were they just a variant?
And well, the first word he used is genetics. It was a genetic thing. So what? Okay. So he's showing me like, okay, there was a tribe, right? Like a group of people, like when humans were very tribal. Well, we still are, but like thousands of years ago, really.
Okay.
Because he shows them wearing like animal skin and stuff. And like there was just a tribe, and like three of them. Okay, how many? Three? Two males and a female. They were much taller than everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
They had a lot of kids. A lot of those kids grew very tall also.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had more kids. He said, but the reason they all died off is because it just wasn't sustainable. You start mixing in with other people of different sizes, and then they start to get smaller.
Yeah, mankind back then, they were probably shrimpy anyway. Like 5 foot or 4'9" or something. Weren't they in general kind of small?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he said that's another thing I was just getting ready to say, Mom, is that, given the times and stuff, it wasn't always practical to be so tall, because you needed to be small in order to hide and things like that. You needed more fuel also, and fuel was hard to come by.
Yeah. You need to nourish a bigger body is a lot harder.
Well, he said the other thing is they were more prone to like bone problems, spine, and things like that. And they were more docile as a group generally, because, I mean, they just didn't need to be any other way.
Yeah, probably not. Interesting.
So he said, yeah.
Any other interesting tidbits about giants?
He said that particular group, they just had he said they were planting the seeds of diplomacy in human beings.
Really?
Yeah. Because they were more about communication and things like that.
Peacekeeping.
Yeah, he said, in just that small little group, they were going around to other tribes, and this is how they would trade and barter and keep from creating conflict among themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then those skills get taught to those tribes, and then they start teaching it to other tribes,
That's
right?
good. They didn't have to fight.
No, they really didn't.
People would agree with them and listen to
Mm.
them because they probably felt like they had to. That's pretty cool. What about elves? You know that most people in Iceland believe in elves, so that's an interesting tidbit.
Yeah, I didn't hear
Or
what you
maybe
said
it's
because the screen froze.
Oh, maybe it's leprechauns. Icelanders believe in either elves or leprechauns. I mean, the majority of the population do. So I'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
But anyway, elves. Oh yeah, leprechauns. Do they exist, or is that in the same thing as elves? Same category.
He said they're really the same.
Okay, so we'll talk
With
about
they have
elves.
bad attitudes.
Oh, they're elves with bad attitudes?
He said they have bad attitudes.
Oh, elves in general or leprechauns?
Well, elves and leprechauns, he said, they're the same, really.
Okay.
But they have bad attitudes.
Uh-oh. Well, tell me more.
So he said elves and leprechauns, they're the same, right?
Okay.
But they're from different areas. That's why they have different names. So like if they're more like, well, of course, traditionally you think of leprechauns with Ireland and things like that. Mm-hmm. He said they tend to have a bad attitude.
Why?
Because it's so fucking cold and raining all the time.
Oh my God, I bet. So are they around still? Do they still exist in some places of the world?
He said, well, as far as those they go, they're more like, how do you put it? Okay, well, he said it's just easier that way. Okay, so I'll say, I mean, they're like interdimensional. They're like
like Bigfoot.
Yeah, they like kind of pop in and then they, well, so like they can be in your environment and you just don't know that they're there. You don't see them,
Because they're in a parallel dimension. Is that what you mean?
He said it's like they're right outside your field of vision. Like your vision can pick up certain frequencies of light and all this other stuff. They're like just behind that or just in front of it. It just depends on what they want. And then they can like shift into your field of vision and then you can see them, but they don't usually do that. But I mean, they're like everywhere. They can be everywhere rather.
Are there any around me?
Yeah, I was just going to ask because I felt like there were some, but he said no, they're not right now.
Because they could just take their nasty attitude and let the door hit them in the butt when they leave.
That's right.
No, tell me more about them. Their purpose, anything.
He said they like to clean. Clean, like what, the energy? Or
So then there's not been any in my house. Okay, that's clear. Okay.
He said, okay, so they're big on like, he said like sprites and fairies or fae and leprechauns. They all kind of fall into the same category, he said, Mom.
Okay.
Where they're all about like the environment, keeping it clean, cleaning the energy. He said that's why sometimes they get very grumpy because if they live in an area where there's a lot of that going on,
bad energy, yeah,
they pull it in, and then they get grumpy, but it's because they're trying to process it out. So he said it's that kind of thing.
So sanitary engineers of the environment.
He said sure.
Okay.
Oh Lord.
What other interesting facts about elves and leprechauns?
Well, he said they don't really like human beings a lot. Elves
I just don't know if I like them, too. I'm not going to give them my Lucky Charms.
He said, well, Mom, that's the reason they don't like us. Because our immediate response is, well, I don't like you either.
Oh, sorry. I'm an imperfect and flawed human being, but go ahead.
No, but he's laughing because he said no, but the reason is because the reason that they project that energy is because that's what human beings project on each other and themselves.
Yeah.
They don't like each other and they don't like themselves. And then those leprechauns and elves and those two groups, I mean they're just projecting that back.
Okay.
and they know it. But the reason that they do it is because, okay, so it's like a, it's like a, oh, he shows me like one of those old fashioned like phonographs, with the big horn
Oh,
thing,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And like humans are the record and they're like the big horn that's projecting that energy out, right?
Mm.
But the purpose of it is to let you, it's like it's meant to put that out into the environment. One, to release it, but also to make you aware of whether you realize it or not. It's more an unconscious thing of what you're doing, right? Erik says, for most human beings, they aren't conscious of that. But eventually they start to become aware of how unhappy they are.
Mm.
And then they start going out and seeking why that is and trying to correct that, or to make peace with it, really. Because it's not about correcting it, Erik says.
Yeah.
It's about making peace with it and accepting it. Because once you do that, Erik says, everything just wants to be accepted, even the things you don't enjoy. Once you do that, you make peace with it, and then you can integrate how that is within yourself and learn how to take care of yourself when you're in that state, right? And how to take care of others when they are in that state. And then when we do that, Erik says, that nurturing of each other, we are putting that kind of energy out there, and then less and less are people feeling the way that they do about themselves. Well, I like that, Erik. That's pretty good.
That's pretty cool. Well, so we really need to.
He just bowed.
We need to send love to our little elves and leprechauns. Give your elves and leprechauns a hug today, guys.
That's right. Erik said, print up some T-shirts. Have you hugged the leprechaun today?
Yeah, there we go. All right, so we'll work on that. Now,
sorry, he just showed.
Are they? Well, one more question about them. Are they from? Oh, go ahead.
He just showed like a leprechaun hugging your below your knees.
Oh, how tall are they actually? Usually.
2 or 3 feet, he said.
Oh, okay. So they're not inches. All right.
No.
I forgot to mention.
What?
Well, I forgot to ask: are they from another dimension, or are they just from here and they go in and out of dimensions?
They're from other dimensions. Erik says
okay.
they really exist, everywhere in the universe. He said.
Oh, okay.
Same with Fae and Fairy. Well, Fae and Fairy, he says, are the same. It's just what you choose to call them. Sprites are slightly different, but they all exist everywhere in the universe, and they just don't necessarily look the way that they do here.
Okay.
But because here they take more on like a humanoid shape, because that's what the energy is like here. That's the dominant species, and so that's what they project.
What's the difference between a sprite and a fairy?
I mean, he says it's very subtle, really. A fairy can sometimes take on a humanoid form.
Mm-hmm.
And they like to hang around water and grass.
Okay.
But then sprites, he's telling me, have more of an affinity to just nature in general, like all forms of it. Doesn't matter where, from the highest mountain to the deepest ocean.
Do I have any fairies and sprites hanging around me?
Tons of them, Erik said.
Really?
They hang out in the yard, like more out. They don't come inside.
All right. So when I'm playing with the dog.
Oh, they love all of that.
They're
all
hanging out with me. Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Tell me what they look like.
He said like little balls of light.
Oh, okay.
We would see little balls of light.
Are you talking about sprites or fairies?
Both of them.
Oh, both of them. But the fairies can take a humanoid, like Tinkerbell appearance?
He's laughing, but he said, yeah, I mean, they can, but they don't usually.
Okay.
It's more like little balls of light, though.
Okay.
He was showing me different colors, and the colors represent whether it's like fairy or sprite. Sprite tend to have brighter colors. Fairies tend to be more like white and pink.
Okay.
And then sprite, he said, can be different kinds of colors, purples and reds.
Okay. So do you think when we're videotaping and catching orbs on camera, some of them could be fairies and sprites?
Sometimes, but he says that's mostly us.
Okay. What do they think? Oh. What
like
did you think
when you're in my room, that's me. He said that's all me. Or Denise.
Okay.
But never Poppy.
Good.
Because y'all don't want him around.
No.
He just said, your mom just said, I heard that, like from another room, you
Oh,
know.
that she does that.
She's
That's
done
funny.
that several times. It
That
always
I
makes
know. It's so funny. Well, what are
like,
fairies and sprites? What is their purpose? And well, first of all, what do they think about humans? Be gentle, please.
one of them just started talking. And they said, "Oh, we love humans,
Oh, well, we love you too.
but we aren't so keen on the ones that don't take care of the earth.
Yeah.
It's not that they don't want to. It's just that they aren't aware of how important it is that
Yeah.
they do." Because she said, "It's the ground that you're walking on. It's the ground is hugging you. It's loving you, and
Oh,
you're
wow.
just stomping on it sometimes. Some people do. It's not because they don't want to give that love in return. It's because she says they're just unaware of what they're being given.
Yeah. Yeah. We take
Her
things for
energy is
granted.
like her energy. Well, it feels like a she, and her energy feels like Glinda, the Good Witch.
Oh, that's awesome. And what is their purpose? To take care of the earth? Help take care of the earth?
Yeah, Eric said, "Mom, yeah, it's about taking care of the earth, taking
Okay.
care of nature, pulling in the energy that needs to be recycled, the energy that needs to be cleared, and then pushing that back out
Okay.
in
Hey, I
a
forgot to ask.
balanced
I
way."
forgot about mermaids. Do they exist, or have they
Uh,
ever existed?
Eric said, "No."
Okay. Now
Eric,
unicorns.
yeah,
I
Eric
didn't.
said with mermaids, a lot. Eric said almost always it's either someone who was stuck on a ship and hallucinating,
Okay.
or they saw something that they thought was a mermaid, and because of what they've heard and believed, they see that and they immediately attach a mermaid to it when it was
Okay.
just a whale or a wave or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. What about unicorns? I did not expect there to be a yes on that one.
Or they drank some bad ale.
Bad
Anyway,
ale. That'll do
yeah,
it every
yeah,
time.
unicorns. Yeah, unicorns.
Yeah. Tell us about
He said,
that.
"Oh, dude, unicorns are fucking awesome."
Do they still exist?
He said, "Yeah."
Really?
Um,
I haven't seen one lately.
he's laughing because he said unicorns existed on Earth for a short period of time, only a few thousand years. They didn't look the way you see them in traditional books, he said.
So when did they exist? And then we'll talk about what they looked like.
About 7,000 years ago.
Okay.
They had the horn. It didn't have a twist to it. It was just a straight horn out.
Mm-hmm.
They had a face similar to, he's showing it to me, and so I'm trying to describe it. It had a face sort of like a horse, but, I mean, the ears were like a horse. It had the mane like a horse, but it's like this snout, the muzzle part, was a little shorter.
Okay.
And their bodies were more like pony-like. You know how ponies
Like
are kind of
heftier?
fat, or
Yeah. Stout?
heftier?
More stout?
Yeah.
Okay.
And their tails were not long. They were a little shorter. Like, a horse tail is, a decent size. They were about like maybe a fourth of that size.
Okay.
So he just said, it's like a bob.
Well, what happened to them?
He said they became extinct.
Oh, why?
Some from hunting,
Oh,
some from predators. Where do they live? They lived like Iceland, Greenland, Siberia.
you probably froze to death.
He said that's why they were big and stocky. They had more
Oh, yeah.
body fat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole area over there.
Okay.
I wonder why they haven't found any bones then.
Well, maybe they look like horse bones.
Maybe. But 7,000 years ago isn't that long. He said, oh, they'll find bones too. Oh, he just told me that the horns were more like, they weren't bone like you see on like reindeer or deer. They were more like tissue.
Really?
Like
Fleshy?
body tissue, fleshy. Yeah.
Really?
Like cartilage.
Oh, cartilage?
Weird.
Okay.
Why would you even have a horn then if it's like cartilage, and why would it grow to the top of your head?
Yeah.
I said, oh, dude, stop arguing with me. Oh, I'm not arguing. I'm
Well,
just
what
asking.
was it covered with skin and fur?
Well, most of the time they were white, right? So it would stick out of their head. I mean, it had to have been some bone.
No, it could be just cartilage like our ears.
Yeah.
And most of our nose.
I don't even know how that could stick out like that.
Tell
Anyway,
me, Eric.
this is the kind of stuff that Eric and I do. We sit there, he'll tell me something, and then I'll be like arguing with him. I'll be like, oh, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. So I used to not do that, and then I started doing it, and now he's like, I think he likes it actually.
Well, what were they used for?
He said it was for like courtship,
Oh, okay.
like not really, not a fighting or anything.
Okay.
Um, they couldn't. I mean,
Not if it's made of cartilage and covered with skin
yeah,
and fur. It's probably not going to hold up in a fight.
yeah. It was more like decoration, like
Okay.
like you see, peacocks and
Oh yeah.
I think the females are more plain and the males are real ornate.
But did you?
It was like that.
Okay. Did
So
you?
he said, so if you had the biggest horn, you got laid the most.
Oh my God, that's so Eric. So Eric. So you said that they still exist. Is that in like another dimension?
He said
Or
their physical form went extinct,
oh,
but
okay.
their spiritual form still exists. So he
Oh,
said
okay.
like they're more like sort of like interdimensional, but they don't really take a physical form
Okay.
anymore. So he said, so really, I guess you could say that the way they exist is in spirit, but they stay connected to Earth.
Okay.
And why do they stay connected to Earth? He said because they like it here, but
Okay.
like, are they doing other things? He said, yeah, they're just chilling, dude.
Ah,
Okay.
after the tragedy of going extinct, they probably deserve to chill. Last one, trolls. I'm gonna have nightmares about this one probably.
Eric said trolls aren't so bad.
Oh, better
He said,
attitudes than leprechauns?
he said they're very gentle.
Really?
Yeah,
Like Shrek?
right. He says, okay, so he shows like this troll. They're so like he's like in this place, and it's like he's got this big bowl, almost like what you see like a cauldron or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like he's building like something for a spell or anything. It's like he's uh, like cooking and but the reason he's doing it is because it's like an elixir to help you. So he's like, what are they like into holistic stuff and things like that? He said, well, sort of, dude.
Okay.
So what do they do then? Oh, okay. So he said they're about putting out peaceful energy, about energy that
Oh.
helps those around them to learn how to take care of themselves and their own well-being.
Hmm.
Okay, well, that's cool.
Are they on Earth?
And their feet stink as much as Eric's do, he said.
Oh no, they were bad. Oh my God. Well, do they exist on Earth?
Yeah, they're also like he said, like trolls and fae and sprites and leprechauns and unicorns. They're all very like non-physical. Trolls, though, he says, are similar to elves, where they can take a form if they want, but they usually don't. Sometimes they get mistaken for Bigfoot
Oh, okay. How big
because
are they?
average
Different size? Yeah.
8 to 10 feet tall,
Wow. Oh my God. It seemed
really.
like you couldn't miss that.
And sometimes they're very hairy, which is why he says it depends on where they are. They like to stick to like mountainous areas.
Okay.
Like he shows me like really big mountains, kind of like the fjords, like when you've shown me pictures in Norway,
Okay.
like areas like that, with lots of woods around
Well,
and
maybe
things. Never go.
the whole troll thing is big in Norway. That whole legend.
Well,
So they must have
he
seen
was
them back in
well,
the
he was just
day.
yeah, he was just telling me about that Bigfoot and trolls, especially those two, wood something, some kind of wood creature. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, all of that came from like Norway and like Sweden, like Scandinavian areas and
Okay.
stuff. It has roots with the Viking history
Cool.
because they like to like take things to mess with their minds, and so then they would have these like visions and they would see these kinds of things
Mm-hmm.
because their minds were more open to being able to,
Mm.
and then that created legends. He said, but a lot of times he said what the Vikings would do, or different people like them, is they were big on like being big and strong and tough and
Oh
like
yeah.
that was important, right? And so then they would tell these stories in order to like boost themselves up, in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because maybe they would say, "Oh, I saw, a troll, and we'll protect your lands, from that troll and blah, blah, blah. And,
Ah,
of course, there could be some truth in it because some of them may have seen it, but others, once they become aware of it, then they start spreading that kind of stuff. And then the villagers or whoever's around think, ooh, we're going to be safe and protected. Ooh.
so they got to pony up the dough.
or whatever.
Yeah. Or
And,
they're,
Eric said, or pony up the ass or pony up the dough or pony up
oh,
something.
uh-oh.
Something. You got to give
Pony
up
up the
something.
daughters. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else before we close?
He said, no, Mom, I'm good. He said, that was a lot of fun.
That was fun. Very lighthearted. People are
Yeah.
going to get a kick out of it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If so, please like and be sure you subscribe so you don't miss any more Channeling Erik YouTubes. Bye.